If we're on the air, not yet, okay. Air. We are now broadcasting, so we will get started. Don't forget to silence your gadgets. Before the invocation, and we're going to do the invocation and the pledge. Jim's doing invocation, and Dave's doing the pledge. But before we do, may we have a moment of silence, not only for our former colleague, Don Ryman, but also Jerry Erickson, who for years was the director of the health department. Don died early on the morning of the 8th of this month, and Jerry passed on the 23rd of May. So if we could have a moment of silence, then we'll go right into the invocation. Jim.
Let us pray. Almighty God, you are our creator and our sustainer. You are our light and our fortress. You are our wisdom and our strength. We ask for your guiding hand to lead us through this meeting. May we approach our tasks with wisdom, and may we approach our members with respect. May our conduct create an environment of cooperation and kindness. Thank you for helping us to accomplish our work this day. We ask these things in your powerful name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Bell,
Here.
Curran,
Here.
Freely. Present. Harrison,
Here.
Hinkleman,
Here.
Ott,
Yes.
Pittsford, Tyler. Here. Bullrat, Werfel. Here. Yarborough,
Yes.
Elliot.
Here.
You have 11 present.
Thank you. The minutes from last week in Three Oaks need to be approved.
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to approve those minutes.
Moved by Freeland, supported by Volrath. Any discussion? We're just doing the minutes from last week, Julie. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. Madam Clerk, I understand we have communications.
You had two communications, MIHI, the latest happenings, email received 6/9 of 25, and an email concerning the social media policy change, email received 6/5/25.
Thank you. We have Steve Curry here from MAC, Michigan Association of Counties.
You want to sit there? Yep, that's fine.
Morning, Steve.
Good morning, Chair. Thanks for having me today. I appreciate it. My name is Steve Curry. I'm the Executive Director of the Michigan Association of Counties. One of my roles as Executive Director is I try to get out to see as many counties as possible throughout the year. I was telling Terry earlier, I think this was the first county I visited when I started at MAC 14 years ago. So it's always nice to get back to Berrien County, especially in the summer. I wish I had more time to spend here today, especially with it being 80 degrees by the lake. But unfortunately, I got to get back. But we always appreciate Berrien County's support of MAC, whether it's on our committees, attending our conferences. You guys are always very supportive. I do have a presentation I'm going to run through. Feel free to interrupt me with questions as I go through, or you can wait till the end. It's totally up to you. So first up, MAC is known, this is for three different areas: advocacy, education, and services. Obviously, on the advocacy side, we advocate primarily in Lansing, but we also cooperate with NACO at the national level to help with federal issues there. Education, we provide various educational opportunities throughout the year, whether it's our conferences, webinars, those sorts of things, or regional summits. We try to keep you guys informed as much as possible, so you guys are the best you can be at your job as county commissioners. And then finally, services, we provide a variety of services through our association many counties can take advantage of, and I'll talk about those in a little bit. So a little update on the board. We have 16 members of our board. They're all county commissioners, 2 seats from each of our regions, and ensures broad representation. Incidentally, there is a vacant seat that we'll be filling at our annual conference here for your region. So if you're interested in running or applying for the board, you can do so. You'll get information on that in the coming months in our legislative updates. We typically meet at least 4 times a year. It's most of the time it's about 5 or 6 times a year at our 2 conferences and a few times outside of that. So this is the current MAC leadership. Melissa Dobbs, the current president from Wayne County. Antoinette Wallace is first vice president from Macomb. Brian Kolk from Newaygo County, and then Stan Ponstein's our immediate past president. So I talked a little bit about conferences. We just had our legislative, it seems like we just had it. It's April now. But our next conference will be our annual conference, which will be in Grand Traverse County, September 30th through October 2nd. And then we'll have our legislative conference next April 27th through 29. That conference is always in Lansing. So a little bit about our legislative accomplishments from 2024. I don't want to spend a ton of time on this, but I do want to highlight some of the work we've been doing. Of course, revenue sharing is always a focus of ours. It's one of the primary funding sources for counties. We try to make sure that you guys are properly funded so you can make decisions at the local level that are the best for your constituents. We were able to get a $30 million increase in county revenue sharing last year, which was a significant increase, which we were happy to see. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the work we're doing this year with this year's budget and how things are going there in a minute. But trial court funding is another issue that's a hot topic right now. We were able to get the fees that are charged in the court system extended because those changes the Trial Court Funding Commission and the Trial Court Funding Group that are working on now haven't nothing's changed there. Should those fees have gone away, it would have cost counties about $30 million statewide. We wanted to make sure those fees could be charged until a separate system is in place. What that looks like, we're not sure yet. They're still working on that now through some work groups that we have representation on now. But that sunset date is due to come up at the end of 2026. So what we're looking at now is that these work groups are coming up with their recommendations. They'll fine tune those in the next few months, come up with legislation. Devil's always in the details of legislation and these type of work groups, and see where we're at on those pieces of legislation before we support or oppose them. But they're looking at how courts are funded. What sort of, where should these employees be employed from, the county or the state? So those are some of the things they're looking at. So there's 4 different work groups on that. The concern is, we're going into 2026, an election year where just about everybody's on the ballot except county commissioners. Thankfully, county commissioners now have 4-year terms, but everyone else is on the ballot. So how much stuff gets done in Lansing when just about everyone's on the ballot? Probably not a lot. So we're going to watch that date closely as we get closer to it. If we're not seeing movement on legislation that ensures funding, proper funding for counties, we'll probably have to kick the can down the road with another extension there. We were also worked with the prosecutors to get $17 million for increased funding for those counties that have high crime rates. I'm sure you're feeling it, as many counties have. Keeping prosecutors or assistant prosecutors is tough. So we're working with the Prosecutors Association on ways to help them out as well. Health and Human Services, we worked with the state, the Sheriff's Association, Community Mental Health on this waiver. That's a federal waiver, that 1115 waiver that allows inmates to keep their publicly held healthcare through their trial. Right now, when they get charged, they lose that health care coverage. What does that mean? That means that if they have an emergency in the jail, you're paying for it. And then typically hospitals know that, so you're getting charged full freight on that. So there's a whole a bunch of issues with that. So this waiver at the federal level would allow those who are incarcerated prior to them having a trial keep that coverage. The waiver has been submitted there. I think we're the 4th or 5th state to apply for that waiver. So there's precedent there that they have been approved. It is a long process going through the federal government, but we are hopeful that waiver will be approved. So we'll keep you updated on that. PPT exemption, that happened back in 2019. There was a deal, or no, 2021, there was a deal made that increased the exemption level for a small business personal property tax exemption. When that exemption was raised, that cost local units of government about $75 million. We were adamantly opposed to that. At the time when the deal was made, they said, we will fix it, just trust us. Well, we did, and they actually did fix it, surprisingly enough, with a $75 million annual reimbursement that came through last legislative session. So that was great for locals. And then finally, there was legislation passed that allowed for variations of lake levels without going to circuit court, a big deal for counties. That our drain commissioners that were very helpful on as well. Some of the lame duck victories, that was some harmful legislation. Minimum staffing is subject to collective bargaining was something we were opposed to. That was a cost to counties. A lot of discussion about statewide sanitary code that never got passed. And then publicly funded health insurance increases for counties. Not something we're opposed to, because we do believe that the benefit of health insurance that counties and public entities provide is an important employee retention tool. But what was proposed was unsustainable for local units of government. And so it is something we're still working on. But what was proposed, we were opposed to. So as we're looking at 2025 priorities, revenue sharing trust fund, I've got a slide on that I'll talk about in a second. Reforming Earned Sick Time Act, that's obviously something that was passed very early in this legislation, about the only thing that's been passed in through this legislature, but we were supportive of what was passed. We are again advocating for a reimbursement on veterans' property tax exemption, not from the veteran. We don't want to impact the veteran at all getting that exemption, but we believe that the state should reimburse us much like that PPT reimbursement. We're trying to structure something on that veterans' property tax exemption that's similar. Adopting a permanent state solution for funding courts. I talked a lot about that already. And then of course, roads is a big topic right now. So we've had a political shift in Lansing. So we have the Republican-controlled House now, 58-52. Democrats have a one-seat majority in the Senate with one vacancy because there's an open seat that's been open for a while. Not sure when that's going to be filled. But the Democrats still do hold a majority in the Senate. The House has eliminated the local government committee. What does that mean for us? It just means our bills get spread out among more committees. We have to educate members more that may not have a background in local government on what the impact of those pieces of legislation are. And then the House has enacted a rule on budget earmarks. So if you were going to advocate, if you were a legislator and you wanted to have a specific earmark to an entity, public or private, you had to attach your name to it. You're likely going to have to come in front of the House committee when they start moving appropriation bills and actually testify on it. So we'll see how that rule all plays out. I still think there was about 300 million in budget earmarks that were put in. We'll see how many of those make it through the budget process as I talk about the budget process. So let's talk a budget process. So revenue sharing, the governor recommended a 3.6% increase. The Senate passed a 10% increase based on taxable value payment, which was how revenue sharing went through last year. So obviously we're very supportive of the Senate side. The Senate has passed the complete budget, all done. House has not done anything on a budget yet except for school aid, which they just did yesterday. Just a general comment on the budget. I would not expect the budget done until the absolute last day, which would be October 1st. Yeah, I would suspect they'll get school aid done because for them, they need to have their budget done by July 1st. But there's no teeth to, there is legislation that says you have to have a budget by July 1st, but there's no teeth to it. So there's no penalty, there's nothing like that. So I would suspect you'll see that school aid done early. The rest of the budget's done October 1st. There has been talk about doing another consensus revenue estimating conference to see where revenues actually are, maybe in August. Obviously, a lot of variability at the federal level right now. So you're trying to put a budget together right now with a moving target. You don't know what the federal impacts are going to and how they're going to impact the state, which could then impact counties. So I think you'll probably see something like that later in the year, and then a budget done then. The House has passed a very skinny budget, they've called it. So they have something out there, but it's at minimum levels, minimum service levels, not really a sustainable budget. Back to the slide though, Public Safety Crime Reduction Fund, the governor recommended a $75 million fund for that, but it totally excluded counties unless you're contracting with other local to do road patrol, those sorts of things. The Senate recommended $100 million crime prevention fund with $60 million dedicated specifically for counties. So obviously we're very much again in support of the Senate bill. In the Senate, they passed a $100 placeover for foreclosure retroactive proceeds. So that's for the Raffaele decision. Folks can now come back to you and say, hey, I was foreclosed on, you owe me these funds. The state is looking at putting some money, obviously more than $100. I think the actual number is, don't quote me on this, I think it's 25 million statewide that the treasurers have projected they need. Some counties did have a fund and they have not touched it and don't need help from the state for that. Other counties have not. So, and it all depends on who applies for those proceeds, you know, or comes back to the county. So again, another moving target on that. And you're starting to see a trend here that there's a lot of general fund dollars getting tied up with a lot of these proposals. So, and we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to roads. But we'll see how that plays out through the legislative process. And then the Community Infrastructure Fund, the Senate created this with $372 million. And this is where those revenue sharing and the crime prevention fund will come out of for the Senate. The governor's recommendation has nothing in there for that. So the Revenue Sharing Trust Fund, a reintroduction from the last session, which passed 106-4. So obviously very bipartisan support there. Those are the bills 4311 and 4312. They did get referred to government ops, which typically when you see bills referred there, it's either a very good thing or a very bad thing. In this instance, it's very good. It means that we will, the chair of that committee has said he will take those up for a vote and get them out of the committee and keep them moving. So that's very good. The same sponsors as last year. Rep. O'Neill is Saginaw County, and I think Rep. Tisdale is Oakland County, but the bipartisan support on the sponsors there as well. So let's talk roads. The House Republican roads plan is the only plan out there at this point. It is an $880 million plan, $2.2 billion plan. Basically, every county gets at least almost 100% increase for their county roads. So it varies a little bit from like 97% to 110%, but it's basically 100% increase for your county. Well, for you guys don't have a road commission, so for your county road department. So we are supportive of that. It's hard to not be supportive of that when you have that much money going towards county roads, whether you have a road department or a road commission. The way they get there, they get rid of sales tax on gasoline and basically do a revenue neutral shift to a gas tax. So all the taxes you pay at the pump go towards the roads now, not sales tax on the road. So obviously you're stripping away money from the general fund when you do that. Again, the math problem starts becoming harder and harder when we start talking about this at the state level. They have a shift from the corporate income tax and business tax that generates some money. And then you can see my concern, or our concern on there is revenue sharing and the impact on revenue sharing. But at this point, we are supportive of this until we see something different and some impacts, because we've heard very positive things on both chambers on our revenue sharing trust fund. Both chambers have been verbally supportive of it. You know, we'll start seeing as votes come through. But at this point, we are supportive. Indigent defense expansion. This just has to do with the membership of the commission, MIDC. They're expanding it one more member. A couple other concerns we do have, though. MIDC gains authority to determine indigency, and then they are just moving to a disbursement model from 3 to 4 payments. So when you start going to disbursement from 3 to 4 payments, that's more on your back that you have to cover before you're getting reimbursed from the state. And there's always a concern with that, with the state, because we know how things go with the state. So I talked a little bit about the public safety side of things within the budget. There are also policy bills that are been introduced that are separate from the budget bills. So these are bills that are reintroduced from the last session. However, now counties are eligible in these policy bills, and you can see a little different dollar figure there, $115 million, again, sales tax dollars. And this is how the use of those funds is to be, how these funds are to be used. So the first 75 million, you can kind of see there for CVTs. That's all how the CVTs have to use their fund. If you look under the 40 million going to counties, we have much more flexibility there. So you basically can use it in a variety of different ways, where the CVT model is much more restrictive on how they have to use those funds. Veteran service grants. So I think most of you know that there has been a shortfall in the veteran service grants, and many counties got letters saying, hey, the state is not going to pay you for the grants that we originally approved you for. Apparently they can't do math well. This would make up for that shortfall. 3.7 million. The lead sponsor is Rep. Rogers from Kalamazoo County, former MAC board member, but it is full bipartisan support. It's $3.7 million. We are hopeful to get that done and through a supplemental bill prior to the budgetary process. So we'll see how things play out in Lansing, but we are hopeful to get that done and make sure all the counties are reimbursed for that. So that's kind of the legislative side of things. These are policy committees. Many of you sit on or have sit on our policy committees over the years, so you're no stranger to what we do in those committees. Those are our platform developments that happen basically from September to June each year, and then they go to the board for a vote, and then they come to the general membership for a vote. But we also do education, speakers, those sorts of things. We do have a MAC PAC, primarily that supports those in leadership and those 26 former county commissioners that are in the legislature. You can go to the website there and donate if you'd like to. I talked about our services that we provide. We have a cooperative purchasing program that we're very involved with, that many counties take advantage of. Savvy is kind of the newest one, which is basically they coin themselves a TurboTax for student loan forgiveness. So there's over 150 different student loan forgiveness programs out there. Most know the public service loan forgiveness program, but this is an opportunity for you as an employer to provide this service to your employees. There is a fee involved, but many counties are taking advantage of it and using it as an employee retention tool, especially for that public service loan forgiveness program. You know, if you serve 10 years with qualifying payments, you have your student loans pretty much forgiven. So a lot of counties are looking at that. If there's interest in that, please feel free to reach out to me. And then these are our communication tools. You know, we're on all the social media networks. We do a podcast every Monday that comes out usually Tuesday morning. If you get a chance to listen on that, it's on YouTube and Spotify. Weekly legislative updates, hopefully you're getting. And then we've gone back to a printed newsletter that comes out every other month. So hopefully you're seeing that as well. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone has.
You get involved with ballot proposals. So I know Axe the Tax is out there and some other. Can you kind of give us an update that what we should be concerned about, happy about, or?
Well, you shouldn't be happy about the Axe My Tax. I
No.
mean, that is something that would decimate local governments based on their proposal. I mean, there's really, again, when we start looking at the math equation on what they're proposing and eliminating, what they're proposing to backfill the loss of property taxes doesn't come close to filling the gap there. So that would, mean public safety, mental health, community mental health, local public health, elimination of those sort of things, because the backfill on that, what they're proposing at the state level for that reimbursement on, alcohol, tobacco, those sorts of things just doesn't make up the difference enough. So I don't know where they're at with signatures or anything like that. I know they decided not to get their language approved at the canvasser level. So who knows what happens with that down the line as well.
That's the only ballot. That's the only ballot proposal we should be watching out for right now.
As far as I know right now, that's the only one I've heard of that is out there circulating. I think one got approved yesterday on adjusting a minimum wage, but I don't know enough about it to comment on it one way or the other.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Curry. So with the skinny budget that both chambers are looking to pass, should we be concerned of a possible government shutdown, or would that skinny budget kind of eliminate that possibility?
Well, let me be clear. The House has passed the skinny budget. So they have passed this, just a downsized version of the budget for everything, school aid, general budget, on the bus budget. The Senate has passed a full budget, which they based off of prior to the consensus revenue estimating conference of May. They passed a budget that actually exceeds that. So it doesn't work because there's not enough money to fulfill their budget. Both have passed those out of the chambers. School aid budget in the Senate, a new school aid budget passed out of the House yesterday. I think, well, it's either on the House floor or passed out yesterday. Either way, it'll pass out of the House. So I think the intent is to get school aid done so there's no issues with the school funding. Should you be concerned, back to your question, should you be concerned come October 1st of government shutdown? Yes, I would think that's definitely going to be on the table. Okay, but I can't predict it until we start getting closer. Strange things happen in Lansing. People start getting along at certain times and you just never know when that happens. But
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
So I don't remember the bill number, forgive me, but it was passed where the local municipalities, the counties lost zoning authority for windmill, wind turbine, solar. Is Mako still working on trying to fix that so it comes back to the counties or local municipalities?
Yeah, Rep. Alexander has introduced bills that would basically go back to the way it was before. And there is a lawsuit going on as well on that. So I would suspect that bill does get passed out of the House, but I don't expect it to get passed out of the Senate. Now, that being said, when a lot of what's going on right now, they're not getting bills to the governor. There's very few that the governor assigned, but what you'll see is a lot of chamber bills get passed out and get switched over to the other chambers and sit there. Why is that? If they have no intent of passing, because you never know at the end of the session when someone needs something and they have a bill sitting there that they want, and maybe someone needs a vote over here, and then deals start getting made. So you never know what could happen. You can't eliminate anything, but you'll see bills pass out of chambers and then sit in the other chamber for a while.
Ma'am.
Yes, I hope I can tell you where it was. It said $70 million annually. It's something to do with the veterans, some money they're giving. And annually, what does that mean? Forever they'll get it?
Yeah, so that has to do with the veterans property tax exemption, I think is what you're referring to. And right now, I think best calculations that how that is impacting local governments is it's $75 million less that local governments are getting from that veterans property tax exemption. And what we're advocating for is no impact to the veterans. We think that they should be getting that veterans property tax exemption the way it's structured. However, we believe that if the state wants to vote on something like that, they should reimburse the locals for that funding.
Yes,
So that's what we're at. We're working on a mechanism to do that at the state level, much like we did with the personal property tax exemption.
thank you,
Mhm.
thank you.
Anyone else? Steve, thank you for coming.
Thanks.
We understand you may have other places to go, and we still have an agenda for the closed session to get through. So we take no exception if you have to hit the road.
I will. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming.
Yep.
It's nice. I thought, who's that soon?
Oh, Steve, one question. You mentioned there's a spot to be filled on the MAC board. We have some folks here who actively serve on MAC. If one of our commissioners wanted to be appointed, what's the mechanism for that?
Yeah, so you'll start to see it probably in the next, since it's September, probably in the next month or two. Through our legislative update, there's an application you fill out. Once that application is submitted, each region will vote on that seat. So your region will vote on that, and there's rules for the regional caucus that'll vote on that. So
Okay.
you'll see, all that information will be sent out through our legislative updates in the coming months.
And I've actually already applied
Okay.
for Berrien County. I serve on 2 of the committees today, and Derek already has my application.
Oh, great.
Dave and Ray both know, because they're the other 2 that serve on committees. I had told them.
Well, let's get you on there.
Gotta get all the counties to vote for me.
We will. Okay. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
We'll get her on.
Dave has the most full.
That's voted on at the legislative
chair.
conference with those that attend. So,
Okay. All right. Well, it sounds
or not
good.
legislative, but the full conference.
Right.
Voted on.
Annual.
Up in Grand Traverse County. Okay.
Yeah, our 14 counties in our.
Okay. Well, that sounds good. We'll look forward to that. Comments about resolutions? Gosh, there are so many people here today. I don't know how we're gonna get through all these comments, but,
Empty.
They all left.
Under Sheriff, did you have anything? No? Okay, well, assuming the Under Sheriff doesn't have any comments on the resolutions, we'll go to the consent calendar. Haven't heard about pulling anything. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar as submitted? Moved by Volrath, supported by Bell. Any discussion? All right, Madam Clerk, hearing none, will you please call the roll?
Curran,
Yes.
Freeling, yes, Harrison,
Yes.
Hinkleman,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Bullrath,
Yes.
Werfel, Yarborough,
Yes.
Bell, Elliott.
Yes. All right, flipping over to the back of the page, the first committee report says administration. Jim.
Thank you, Mac. First in to see us this morning was Under Sheriff Greg Sanders, and Commissioner Volrath would like to report out on that.
Thank you, Jim. Greg reported to us this morning, and last month we had 1,522 calls for service. The last month, their inmate number's been pretty steady, 280 to 290 in that general neighborhood. Take food services, I think they take it over now, and Bart Johnson, who ran our food service department for many, many years, is retiring, and so we wish her well on her retirement, and Tiggs Food Service that will be representing us in serving the inmates at the jail has works in other counties in the state, and so they're not unfamiliar with what they're dealing with, because they're dealing with other counties, so. We had, Greg did want to say he wanted to give kudos to the officers. There was a shooting involved this week of Berkeley County, Berkeley Township. It was a late night thing, Indiana folks coming into our county to shoot it up and they've arrested a couple guys that were involved and he wanted to give kudos to them and catching them in short manner. Didn't take long to get them and it's, people coming in here shooting it up, so good job to them. Keep it short, that's it.
Thanks, Dave. Next in to see us was Jill Adams and Don Trail, and they talked to us about the Silver Beach Walkway Lighting Project. After they left admin, they went up to PHS and reported to them as well on this project. This is something for liability purposes has been moved up on the priority list. And so to fund this project, they are proposing eliminating, and this comes off the deferred maintenance list, of deferring and not doing fence repair to historical complex, upgrade to security alarm at Madeline Bertrand, or the site lighting at Love Creek. So those projects will not be done, and the funds that were earmarked for those will be used to do this project. Did you have anything you want to add?
Yes.
Right, okay. So we were okay with it, and I'll let PHS report out on what their findings were. After that, Brian was in to see us, and he presented to us the bid opening for all the work that was scheduled to be done out at the juvenile center. They received 0 bids. So what Brian is proposing, everyone got a copy of this.
Yes,
All the
sir.
board members got a copy of this, where there is a laundry list of things that were on that list for 5.3 million. There are actually a couple of items that are urgent that need to be done. And so what Brian is proposing off the list that you look at, the potable well, the fire protection, and replacing the sprinkler heads for a total of 557,000. And he has already had conversations with Peerless to get this work done. Brian's been reporting to us for quite a while now that the water and the sewer are 2 real high priority items. And so at this point, we gave our blessing to move forward with those 3 items for 557,000. Did you want to elaborate?
I provided briefing to the 3 parent committees, just noting that admin was going to be tip of the spear on this. We will work to get a work summary in front of them to make sure that they're agreeable. At that point, if admin offers concurrence, I will then be to the finance committee to seek approval of the quote to get the work done.
Through the waiver process.
Through the waiver process, as Commissioner Fraley just noted. We've gone through the bid process. We've got no bids. So this would be a very large waiver, but it's one that I think is absolutely necessary.
Okay, thank you, Brian.
Yep.
Brian also brought to our attention the CAD project. This came from Caitlin at 911. They put together a committee, and Dave Volrath is our representative on that committee. After they had met, Dave asked that we get together with the police chiefs and fire chiefs in the county. And so the executive committee, along with Dave, met with the fire chiefs and police chiefs and discussed this topic. And after that meeting, I think there was an expectation from the fire chiefs and the police chiefs that we were going to do something immediately. We had talked about a 50% help of their funding up to $250,000 for every department in the county to assist them. We have not gotten away from that. It's just that there are some steps that need to be taken first. So I wanted to report out on that so that the police chiefs and the fire chiefs know we still support them. We're still going to do it. But there's some things that have to be done prior to a resolution coming to the full board. And when we are ready, that resolution will come through admin to the full board. and you'll have much more background information on it. And I'll look to Brian if you want to elaborate or say anything further. I'll leave it up to you.
Yeah, Commissioner Kern, I think you hit it pretty well there, just making clear to the chiefs, to local law enforcement, that this is still a high priority project. It's still something that you very much are trying to advance forward. The only thing that I would add in is, if you look back to your oblique imaging project, we had formal agreements with the local units who opted in. They then provided payment to the county for access to that software, trying to recreate a similar process where you have a formalized statement from the local unit saying, yes, they are agreeing to pay the funds, and yes, they understand that there's going to be some ongoing costs. I will work with Annette, with Caitlin, with Chris to try and get that resolution to essentially establish those guardrails, making clear exactly what they're committing to and making clear what the county is also committing to. What I also noted to the admin committee is I've spent some time with Mike Crombie, with Representative Andrews, and over the next 2 weeks with members of the Senate, trying to push for some offsetting costs from the state. As Mr. Curry just noted, Public Safety Trust Fund is there, it is funded, and this is a project that just all day long should score well through the trust fund. So I am having those conversations to see if we can get some offsetting dollars from Lansing to help with this project. With that said, as Commissioner Kern has noted, the commitment to local law enforcement is high, and I am trying to walk that balancing act of moving fast, but also moving in a way that is very much thoughtful.
And I think that's a piece that really wasn't discussed about us seeking other funding, not only coming from us, but seeking grants from the state to help the local departments make this happen.
So a memo has gone out to all of you. If any of you have questions, feel free to shout. I will happily address this. As I've stated to Commissioner Vollrath, if you have any questions coming from your local chiefs, steer me in their direction. I'm happy to talk to them.
And in the interim, I think if any of the commissioners have a question about CAD, our sheriff's department cars are all equipped with CAD.
Yeah.
I'm sure the undersheriff, the sheriff would be happy to explain to you how that works. There are a lot of benefits to having a CAD in a patrol car or a fire truck. There are a lot of advantages. So if you want to know more information, feel free to reach out to our own sheriff's department. And that's all I have on that. We have one resolution, a speed study requested by Bertrand Township, and it is for Portage Road from the Indiana state line to US 12. That is our report.
Commissioner Curran, just one more item for the full board. I had taken steps to have MDOT come and talk with the admin committee for next week. MDOT has been doing a ton of public outreach on the planned reconstructed Main Street. That is absolutely a project that's primarily intersecting between MDOT and the local units, so City of St. Joe. Myself, Don Trail, Carrie Smetanka have been attending these meetings because we recognize this is going to impact county. It's a big project, and it's one that this building, equalization, the court, and most importantly, the jail are all going to be impacted. Admin felt that this is a topic that really the full board should be aware of. I'm going to try and modify next week's plan to have that as your committee of the whole presentation so that you can all see what's coming. I will say it's a big project. It'll be great when it's done. It's just a matter of ensuring that for the county that you can get in and out of these buildings on a day-to-day basis. So more to come on that.
Questions for admin? Madam Chair of Finance.
Thank you. Our administrator, Brian Doucette, came in and talked with us, and all the things that you just heard are the things that were discussed. And as it was said, we have the paper with all the different things that could be done, but it has been narrowed down to seeing about having a well put in and fire protection tank and pumps, whatever's connected with that. That is what we hope will happen in a timely manner, because already the occupants of that, the hospital building is working to be gone. And we need to have control, and it needs to be, you know, all connected up. So that's going to happen. And before that, a bid was put out requesting people to make a bid on juvenile center improvement project and through building and grounds. And it was for 5 million, or we thought projected cost $5,300,000. There were no bids. And so that's when we came to what else can we do? And this is coming out possibly to be the best thing and financially the best thing, and that will give us what we need. Then Administrator Doucette talked to us about the water, sewer, fire protection at the juvenile center. This is all connected. So no bid came in on that either. And then our drain commissioner, McManus, came and talked to us. And there are a number of, as we continue to go day by day, that things need to be changed, refined, made better, understood. And Commissioner McManus gave to us the soil erosion and sedimentation control ordinance. There are a number of things that when people are putting in a swimming pool or different things, that certain policies have to be followed, certain rules. And I'm sure the builders know it, but if a person chose to do it themselves or to ignore some things, there are methods to get them to do what they're supposed to do, because it causes, you know, ongoing problems. And the fine, and it's just, I don't know if the fine came from the state of Michigan, but the fines will be charged up to $2,500. But Commissioner McManus is looking at things, and even when something happened, he doubled the fine and give them a chance to do better. And most of the times people don't do those things again. He might double the $100 and make it $200 is what your fine is, not just trying to go to the $2,500 maximum, although that has been done also when there's a person that continuously and is known across the state to build and ignore the rules, and you can charge them enough until in Berrien County he's not doing that anymore. So that is, it's very interesting. And what we wanted to know, Attorney Hackworth, is that does this need to be looked at by you? Do we need to make a resolution? Do we need to do more? Or is this form enough? So they asked me to ask Thaddeus Hackworth, what should we do?
Sure, I'd be happy to answer. So I've already reviewed the procedures for the SESC enforcement. And because this duty has been delegated by the board to the drain commissioner, there's no action needed by the board as far as the enforcement procedures.
Thank you very much. And we paid the bills this time. It's getting thicker and thicker. I call it the bill book, because there's so many, and that's weekly. That's the road department. Bills were in an amount of $1,529,800.02. And then the auditing report for our regular bills was $2,640,201.31. And the finance committee signed that, and it's gone, passing. Then there is, that's happened this week. Then June 19th, we have a resolution that we're bringing to you, and it's about the county purchase development rights ordinance about land preservation from the Land Preservation Board. That will come next week for your approval. Oh, there was another bid that was, that one didn't get bidded on it. There was a waiver. We do have a waiver. Is this it? Oh, thank you so much. There are more ceiling fans being purchased for the mechanical, where they work on things. Some were bought last year, and already it's hot in there, and they're steady making the improvements. needed, and we concurred that that should be done. You want to know the amount? Or it's okay? Okay. Oh, and then we had I thought, a very good meeting with Shelley White, treasurer of Marion County, and with Meter Investment. And our person, we met him only one time. This is the second time he's been here. His name is Mike Klowak. Is that right? Clark. Oh, Clark. Yeah, the way he spelled it for us, because it's not what you would expect. Last year, I think it was last year, we gave him $55 million. Just gave it to him. To invest. And he invested 25 million somewhere. And then he invested 30 million somewhere. And this 30 million was rolling, and it was short term. And it was also, all of this was very liquid. So if he could move it around or whatever. And as a result of this, he made $2.6 million were earned in 1 year. And he said he got into this right when it was almost as high as it went. And so that's why it was such a good investment. So I thought it was wonderful. And I asked the question eventually, where is this money? And he says it's still in there working, and we've added more to it. Let me see. It was just a good report. And that's when we talked about and asked about the treasurer's office has invested, we invest locally. And then we have the people that come from Chicago that invest, but that's our health and pension.
Correct.
Health and pension fund. So we're doing good business. Is there anything else I should say about him? I wrote up everywhere on 2 sides of the paper, but he's doing, I think, a very good job. He talked about the tariff. He talked about imports have grown, unemployment is low, and it's contributing to the treasury, 2% to the treasury. So we're going to keep him. Is that what?
I think the next 12 months, what they're looking at is a full cash flow analysis. They're going to be looking at doing that 25 million that they invested in 1 to 3 year investments are going to go to 1 to 5 to take advantage of some of the rates where they're at right now as they continue to decline. And then exploring other short-term cash options so that we can have more liquidity, but still take advantage of some of the rates.
We should be putting our money somewhere. I don't have much, but then we passed our minutes and we had no visitors.
How come we were the last ones back?
We were busy.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah.
Questions for finance? PHS.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We met this morning, reviewed and considered the monthly vacancy report. This is for May. Vacancies are down. We've got a couple issues that we're working with Kristen on regarding the 1,000 part-time employee limit, as well as the label for part-time employees. We reviewed and approved the pension refunds and rollovers. Also reviewed and approved an advanced step hire request for the trial court, and then approved the resolution for per diems for the commissioners. We talked about the resolution for the senior millage and made some tweaks with that. Had Jill and Don Trail come in, talk about Silver Beach lighting. So we approved the actions taken by administration and finance. Just
Concurred.
so we had continuing discussion about the IT policy regarding social media comments. Also had the update on the bid for Bering Springs water system and juvenile center, as well as computer aided dispatch for emergency services. And that basically, we had a good meeting, and that concludes my report.
Any questions for PHS?
Mr. Chair. So some editing of the senior resolution is done, and I would like permission to have Annette display it just to make sure that there is an understanding and agreement that this can proceed.
So you'll see under number 2, where we talk about the meetings with the board of directors for the senior centers. I added at the bottom, financial reports shall be provided to the board of directors at those meetings. The center shall provide minutes of the board of directors meetings, including those financial reports to county administration. That would be the addition that I put in there since this morning's meeting. PHSC has now signed this, so I'd like to pass this around if everybody else is good with that. I think PHSC, under their direction, we're going to distribute this to the senior centers, correct? So we're gonna submit this to them, letting them know that the action is going to take place next week. This is the first one we've actually updated and changed in a while, as far as the terms goes.
Everybody good with that? Thanks for
Thank you.
the revision.
Good work on that.
Takes care of it. St. Joe, stop counting the money.
That's kind of all referenced in there.
Okay, commissioner reports.
I attended the Mac Judiciary Public Safety. We adopted our platform that Mr. Curry spoke of that will be headed to the full Mac board for adoption. That's the only meeting that I attended St. Joe City meeting. And they did away with their paid parking. And then pause for right now. I also want to announce that currently is Dad Week in the Berrien County area, presented by Present Pillars. And so they've had a few events this past week. They cleaned up the park. They sponsored families to go to the movies to see Lilo and Stitch. They also did free family portraits and photos. And this coming Sunday, they'll be down at Gene Clark Park for a big Father's Day celebration. The city of St. Joe, they recognized Men's Health Month in the city. And also at the state legislature, they were able to get a declaration for Dad Week for the week preceding Father's Day. And so James Gunter and the Present Pillars organization just invites you all to attend their Sunday gathering at the beach and recognize fathers for the role that they play in the community. And that's my report.
We have a Brownfield Authority meeting at 12:30 in the auto ground room. That's it.
I attended the LEPC meeting and it's held at the health department. So we were provided a celebration of life for Mr. Erickson that was held on Wednesday, June 4th. He predates me. I knew Mike Mortimer, but I didn't know anybody really before. So anyway, LEPC, I'll hit the highlights because Dave also sits on LEPC. Doug Myers, the fire chief at Berrien Springs, Orinoco Township, gave us a presentation on MABUS, which is Mutual Aid Box Alarm System. And it's pre-planning is what the fire department does. And that's what he was explaining to us, how that pre-planning helps them. And he also pointed out that there are 26 fire departments in this county, only 5 of them are full-time. So you got a lot of volunteer departments and they really need this system to help them respond to a fire or any incident for that matter. And that's all I've got, Dave.
Yeah, just to touch a little more on that, from the LEPC, it's that box card system gives them a way to look at something at, say, at 3 o'clock in the morning and they get called up out of sleep and say, here's a fire at such and such, we got to do, and you can take this checklist and say, okay, we got it. It gives him an idea who's available at that time of day, and each box, he checks them off as he goes so that he has, he's not trying to think this up on the fly. He's got a checklist to to make sure they're adequately staffed on any type of fire that they have. So that pretty much was our land bank meeting. We had our normal business. Attended finance general government last Friday up in Lansing, and then Monday we had judicial and public safety. We got through all our platforms and passed them, so they will move on to the board of directors, which you saw up there earlier. They will look at those, tweak them or whatever they have to do, and then we'll vote on them in September when that comes up. Also, Tuesday, we had a emergency or a special land bank meeting because the demolition of Modern Plastics was supposed to begin, and the company who was awarded the demolition contract has started asking for some concessions about a month or so ago. And Dan Fetty, some of the concessions they were asking for were, pretty open-ended on what it might cost to complete the project. So after discussing it with the committee, we decided to pull their award and award it to the second highest bidder of that project. And Dan had been in contact with them before our meeting to make sure that they were capable and ready to be able to take this thing and run with it. And they said they would be able to start it, and I think in July, instead of now when they were supposed to be starting it. They will be starting in July and still completing it this year, but if there's anything left over that, because once they start digging into these old buildings at Modern Plastics, they don't know what they're gonna find. But they've taken all the steps that they could possibly take to find out, but if there's anything next year that has to be done, they'll complete it and make sure. And the State Land Bank was aware of this company that we selected first and was surprised that we had selected them, because they said they've had issues with them in the past, and they still have uncompleted projects that would be a bad thing for us if we got involved with them. So anyway, that's pretty much what I've done this week.
No report. I do just want to mention that I think it was a great thing we did, lowering the flags for Don. I know his family and friends would appreciate it. I got to know him. He was a library of knowledge. I mean, it's just amazing. I talked with him often because he's like Mac. He seemed to know everything. So, but that's all I have to say.
He outranks me.
Yeah, probably.
Last Friday night, I attended a candlelight vigil against gun violence at St. Paul's Episcopal Church. Amy Bird, our prosecutor, was a primary speaker there. Also attended Human Services Council this week, LEPC, and then open house for Competitive Edge, and then a meeting of the executive committee.
I attended or was on Zoom. I don't go up to Lansing for the HHS platform for MAC, and we did finalize that. We have one last one to finalize. That's environmental. That's next Monday. And Alex, on the platform is the solar, bringing it back to locals. It's on the platform. It's probably not going to make top 5, and it still would have to go through legislation. So anyway, so land bank, we discussed, Dave really covered that. We have Brownfield today, CEO meeting is at the historic courthouse tomorrow. It's not at the normal noon time either. It's at 3, so a little bit later. And then I attended the First Church ribbon cutting for the Commons last week also.
BC BIT meeting today, 12:30. Ken Wenzel. That's it.
I attended Land Bank. Was that on Monday?
Yes.
Monday. Tomorrow, Michigan Works meeting is at 8 a.m. at the regular building. This evening, I am speaking at the Little Italy program for Morton House. And the reason I am is because that's where I lived, where I grew up. And I still remember phone numbers and addresses, and that was urban renewal. They pushed everything down, and that was 15, 20 years ago, and it's still not built or done anything with it. But I'm going to be pleased, the things that I remember, to be able to tell however long they let me talk. Just a lot of good things going on. I listened to on WSJM on Thursday, just like our newspaper. It's full of all the activities. I heard Amy Berg this morning. She was one of the, or she was the guest, and she was really good and very interesting. It was about guns and locks that go on guns that you can get free. And so it must have been connected with, she's going around letting people know about that. That's all I know.
Just very briefly, you should all have received an invite for next Tuesday, June 17th at 11 a.m. If you haven't received it, let me know. The intent is to have a ribbon cutting for the Silver Beach County Playground. And again, it's Tuesday, June 17th, 11 a.m. at Silver Beach County Park, 101 Broad Street. And
Tell us how to get there.
yeah,
When
so
you say don't go down,
you're just gonna drive down to Silver Beach.
oh, I
and
can do that.
You
Over
can.
here
We
on,
have free parking and so now we're
Front
going.
part, can't get there.
yeah,
Okay,
because I just can't be far away from where I gotta get to. I
so
know how to go in there. I just said, don't do. Don't go down by the railroad track.
Madam Commissioner, I will happily talk with you afterwards and we
Okay.
can arrange for a very close parking spot if
Thank
that's something that
you.
you're concerned about.
Yeah.
It is the 17th at 11 a.m. If you have questions, you can contact me, you can contact Jill. The chamber has been helping Jill out with getting the word out. So if you didn't see the email, let me know. And to anyone who needs help with parking, let me know. I'll happily work with you. Those are my comments, sir.
Thank you. General public comments are now in order. Where's Abel? Okay, other business? Anybody have any other business? Announcements and reminders, you can see we're not meeting on July 3rd, we're closed on July 4th, and then on the 10th, we are in Waterville Charter Township for a meeting at 6 o'clock PM Eastern Time. We're gonna have a closed session about a quiet title action that's being resolved. If there's nothing else, we need a vote to, and we're not gonna do anything when we come back in, or we are gonna approve it once we come back into open session. So with that, is there a motion to go into closed session under the pending litigation exception to discuss Sturgeon Beach Property Owners Association versus New Buffalo Township et al.
I'll make that motion as you stated.
Okay, moved by Volrath, supported by Ott. Roll call, please.
Freeling. Yes. Harrison.
Yes.
Hinkleman.
Yes.
Ott.
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
Volrath.
Yes.
Werfel.
Yes.
Scarborough.
Yes.
Bell. Curran.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes, and I would note for anyone listening, we will come back in to open session briefly to tentatively anyway, approve the resolution of a quiet title action. My understanding is we were named as a party simply because the statute requires us to be named. We don't really have any dog in this hunt, but we will be doing that and probably approving minutes from the last closed session. And that's gonna be it. So is there any reason why we need to maintain the YouTube connection? No.